Start.
Good morning, students. I am Dr. Sunil Kumar Kosik, and today we will discuss about the basic fundamentals of computer networks. First, what is computer network? Computer network is basically a set of computers connected through any communication technology, and basic purpose of the computer network is to share the resources. For example, internet, a printer on a system, file server, etc. These are the resources basically we want to share between different types of computing devices, and that's why we form a computer network. Suppose this is machine A and this is machine B, and B is connected with printers P, and we want to access the service of the printer. Then we can set up the network connection between machine A and B in order to access the printer that is connected with machine B and to machine A. Basically, if you see, in computer networks, there is basically communication between process to process, and a process is a program in the execution state. Suppose this is a machine A, and a process suppose A and another process B. A wants to communicate with process B in the same machine. That can be possible with the help of IPC, inter-process communications, with the help of, or simply you can say, operating system. But if the case scenario is totally different, suppose a process in a machine A, P1, and a process P2 in machine B, and P1 wants to communicate with B. In that case, that is not possible with the help of IPC, because both the processes are lying in different machines, one at location A and another at location B. In order to set up the proper communication and proper network between these two machines, there is a requirement to set of software and hardware, and that software and hardware combination is known as network. Network is basically, it's a set of the services in terms of software and hardware entities in order to set up the connection between machine A and between machine B, so that they can set up proper communication between them as well as share the different types of the resources in a proper way. There are, in order to provide proper communication between the process A and between the process B at different machines, there are different types of the services that we feel there is an urgent requirement. For example, error control, flow control, multiplexing, demultiplexing, and there may be some optional services, that is encryption, decryption. Even routing is also an optional services that may be required, and even in the absence of routing we can use the flooding concept. Flooding is basically to flood the packets on all the outgoing links, and routing is basically to send the packets on a specified link as per the instruction available in the routing tables. On the basis of this type of service, there are different types of networks and different types of reference models. For example, ISO OSI reference models, TCP IP reference models, ATM network, X.25 model, frame relay, IEEE, that is IEEE, basically the standard for LANs. These are the different types of classifications of the networks based on the different types of the service available in the network. First, we will discuss about ISO OSI reference models in brief. ISO OSI reference model. ISO, International Organization of Standard. OSI, Open System Interconnection. Basically, this is reference model, or we can say that it is a Bible in order to set up the networks. Bible book means set of rules, and ISO ISO OSI reference model, the working of ISO OSI reference model is divided into 7 layers: physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer. Or basically, if you see, OSI ISO reference models is a divide conquer approach where all the entire function is divided into set of small unit functions, and these functions are known as 7 layers of the OSI ISO reference models. First one is physical layer, data link layer, networking layer, transport layer, session, presentation, and application layer. 7 layers. And if you see these structures of OSI ISO reference model, the structure is basically to provide set of the services to each layer in order to set up the proper communication between two processes located at different locations. And physical, if we see the physical layers, function of physical layer. Function of physical layer. Physical layers basically deals mainly three types of the service. First one is the transmission media. Transmission media, the media used to transmit the electrical, magnetic and electromagnetic signals from one device to another device. For example, if we take the copper wire, the signal will be in the form of electric signal. And if we take the concept of fiber optics, the signal will be in the form of light. And if we take the concept of wireless network, the signal will be in the form of electromagnetic waves. And there may be different types of topology. First one is bus topology, where all the systems are connected through in this fashion using a dedicated line. And next one is a star topology, where a central hub is used to connect different types of machines. And then ring topology, where a ring is set up in order to set up the communication between them. Mesh topology, where all the machines are connected to each other. And tree topology, where a tree-like structure is formed by the and hybrid combination of these. This type of topology we can follow in order to set up the network. Basically, in previous times, if we see, bus topology was generally used, but in current scenario, we follow the concept of star topology. Star topology, basically there is a central device, and that may be hub, that may be switch, and number of systems are connected with the central hub as well as the central switch in order to form a network. Yes. Then encoding. Encoding means representation of the bits. If you see the concept of Ethernet, we use the either Manchester or differential Manchester encoding. Means there are different representation for bits 1 and bits 0. Next, data link layer. Function of data link layer. Function of data link layer is divided into 5 categories. Flow control, error control, framing, physical addressing, and access control. Flow control, flow control is simply deals with control the flow of information from one machine to another machine. Suppose A machine is sending the data and B machine is not able to receive such large amount of data in the same fashion. In order to that, so that there is a proper flow of data from one machine to another machine, there are requirement of such softwares. Sliding window protocols, go backend, and selective repeats. These are the protocols we generally use for flow controls, and we will discuss these protocols later on. Then error control. Error control means when machine A is sending the data to machine B, and there must be integrity of the data. In order to maintain the integrity of the data, there should be no error in the data. And for the same, there are two types of protocol are used: CRC and checksum. CRC is generally used at data link layer, and checksum is generally used at transport layer. Framing means to receive the data from the network layer and prepare the frame in order to transmit the data over the physical media from one machine to another machine. Physical addressing. Basically, there are two types of addressing. One is physical addressing and another one is logical addressing. Physical addressing is basically to identify a machines uniquely in a network, and logical addressing is the unique address of the machine at global level. Generally, for physical addressing we use the MAC address, and for the logical address we use the concept of IP address that we will discuss at network layer. Yes, next one is access control. Access control means there is the same media, same channels connected through different machines, so that at the same time only two machines are able to communicate with each other, and remaining machine should wait till their communication should be ended up, so that the transmission is in proper way. And for the same, there are two types of protocols are used: CSMA-CD and token passing. CSMA-CD is used in Ethernet, and token passing is a concept used in token ring. These are the two protocols generally used in LAN. Next, function of network layers. Yes, these are the different services at network layer. First one, it is host to host connectivity. If we see the concept at data link layer, data link provides the connectivity at hop to hop. whereas the network layer provides the connectivity between host to host, and transport layer provides the connectivity between end to end, mean end from one end process to another end process. And logical addressing. Basically, in OSI ISO reference models or in any another reference models, when we want to set up a connection between two machines, from machine A to machine B, if A machine is directly connected to machine B, it's okay. Simply transmit the data from one machine to another machine. If the machine is not directly connected, because there are maybe some intermediate devices, that may be routers, that may be switch, that may be gateway, and another simple and may be connected through any another computing devices. In order to set up the connection between machine A and machine B, there is a requirement of some intermediate devices between these two machines, and those intermediate devices works only up to network layer. Only up to network layer, where the machine A and machine B works up to application layer, mean all the 7 layers are used, machine in A and machine in B, but in intermediate devices only 3 layers are used up to network layers. And in order to transmit the data from machine A to machine B, intermediate devices are used up to network layer. So network layers provide the connectivity from host to host connections. And logical addressing. Logical addressing is basically the addressing that is used to identify a system at global level, and IP address concept is used for the logical addressing. Physical addressing, MAC addressing is also used. We can also use as a logical addressing, but system will be more and more complex. It would not be possible to identify a system uniquely at a global level with the help of MAC address. Switching is the basically concept to switch the network from one line to another line, and that is also carried out with the help of network layer functionality. In routing we maintain a routing tables, where routing tables, on the basis of routing tables, we take the decisions from which to which route we have to send the data, so that data can be received at destination in an optimal way. And congestion control. Generally, congestion control is performed at transport layers, but if we see the concept of ATM network, where the congestion control is performed at network layer. Fragmentation. If there are different types of networks connected, suppose one side we are taking Ethernet, another side we are taking token ring, and we want to transmit the data from Ethernet to token ring, and is the capability of Ethernet is not so high as compared to capability of the token ring. In order to set up the proper communication between them, there will be requirement of fragmentation of the data, fragmentation of the packets received from the upper layers, such as transport layers, application layers. Next, function of transport layers. End-to-end, port number, service, addressing, and flow control, error control, segmentation, multiplexing, and demultiplexing, congestion control. End-to-end service. I have already told you. Transport layer provide end-to-end services, network layer provide host-to-host connectivity, and data link provide hop-to-hop connectivity. And end-to-end, suppose there is a one process in machine A and another process in machine B, and this process P1 wants to communicate with P. This is the end-to-end communication with the help of some intermediate devices, networking devices. And transport layer provides this type of service communication between process P1 and between process P2. Then port number. Port number is basically a address assigned to a process. Process is a program in the execution state, and it's the address in 16-bit. And when we add this address with the IP address, the address is known as socket address. Port address is added with IP address, mean combination of IP address and port address is known as the socket address. And with the help of socket address, we can set up the network connections from machine A to machine B. Yes, next is flow control. Data link layer also provides these two services, flow control and error control. Whereas the transport layer also provides these type of services, flow control and error control. In data link layer, flow control and error control is provided machine to machine, mean hop to hop. And flow control and error control in transport layer provide the flow and error control in end-to-end machines. And for the flow control, selective repeat protocol is generally used. For the error control, checksum protocol is used. Segmentation. Segmentation means dividing the message into small units. And transport layers do this services segmentation so that network can be able to handle all the data packets in a proper way. Multiplexing and demultiplexing. Suppose there is a machine A and process P1, process P2, process P3. Machine receiving the data, to whom machine A will deliver the data, process P1, process P2, process P3. That will be decided by the socket address, that is the basically combination of IP address and port address. And same, this is the channel connected through machine A and sending the data with the help of, sending the data of all the processes P1, P2, P3 in a combined form. That is known as a multiplexing. And same, receiving the data and deliver to any process is known as the demultiplexing. Last one is the congestion control. Congestion control is the basic functionality of the transport layers. Only in ATM network the congestion control is performed or executed at network layer, but in all the other models congestion control is carried out at transport layer. Yes. These are some optional services, not the mandatory services, which are provided by the session layers. First one is authentication, and authentication is generally provided with the help of digital signatures, and or we can provide the basic functionality with the help of combination of username and password. Generally, we provide authentication with the help of username and password, and another method may be digital signature. Same authorizations, checkpointing. Checkpointing in a similar way as in database. Suppose we are downloading a large amount of volume of data, and we will suppose we assume that we are not able to download entire volume of data at the same time. And in that case, we will use the concept of checkpointing. Mean up to particular level we have downloaded the data, and next time we will start the data from this point. Synchronization. Synchronization is basically it's a concept of in video and audio files in a different ways. And next is the dialogue control. Dialogue control is the basically, suppose we assume that there is a conference and there are number of speakers, and if we permit each speakers to speak, that is a concept of dialogue control. Mean if there are number of machines connected at a same media, same channels, and each machines would be able to transmit or would be able to communicate. That is the basic concept of the dialogue control. Yes. Next we discuss about presentations layer. Presentation layers. Character translations, encryption and decryption, compression and zip and unzip. Yes. Suppose machine A uses the different character format characters concepts, for example sky code, and another machine uses different character code, and for example FCD code. And if we want to send the data from machine A to machine B, there will be requirement of proper encoding between these two machines, and for the same there is a requirement of character translations, and that will be executed with the help of presentation layer. Next, encryption and decryption. This is also one of the optional services and not required in all types of the communications. We follow these services or we execute these services only where we maintain the secret and privacy of the data, where we encrypt the data and receiving machine's data is decrypted in the same passage, either using symmetric key cryptography or using asymmetric key cryptography. And next one is compression and decompressions. Compression is basically zip the data, and decompression is basically unzip the data. And these functionalities are executed with the help of function layers, presentation layer functions. And last one is the function of application layer. First, specific address services. At application layer, we use the concept of specific address services. For example, we want to access the Google websites. We generally type www.google.com, and that website address will be converted into proper IP address of the Google server with the help of DNS, domain name systems. And domain name systems is available. The service of domain name system is available in the default routers of gateway. And second one is this layer provides the user convenience facilities. User convenience facilities. Suppose we want to download or we want to transfer a file from one machine or one machine to another machines, and for that we can use the protocol file transfer protocols, and that is the basically user convenience services at application layers. Now we discuss some hardware devices or software entities at different layers, as well as some addresses. First one is physical layer, second one is data link layer, third one is network layer, next one is session layer, presentation layer, and application layer. At data link layer, we MAC address. MAC address, or you can say that physical address. Physical address or NIC address, network interface card address, and that is 48-bit address. 48-bit is a unique address at global level, and basically this address is the address of NIC, network interface card address, and this address contains serial number of the vendor, date of the manufacturers, as well as the ID number of the product. These three components form the MAC address of a NIC card. Next one, network address. At this layer, IP address is used, and IP address is also known as logical address. In IPv4, we use 32-bit address, and in IP6, we will use 128-bit address. There are different classes of the IP addresses, class A, class B, class C, etc. At transport layer. At transport layer, we use the concept of port address. Port address is the address of a specific process at a machine, and this address is 16-bit address. And if we add this address with 32-bit address, that address is known as socket address. At application layer, we use the concept of specific address. Specific address, for example, www.google.com. That is the specific address, and this address will be converted into the IP address of Google server with the help of DNS. These are the different types of the addresses we use in computer networks, and now we will discuss basic or in brief some hardware entities as well as some software entities at different layers. At physical layer, we use the concept of repeater and hub. At data link layer, we use the concept of switch and bridge. At network layer, we use the concept of router or three-layer switch. And transport gateway. Yes, at physical layer, first repeater. Repeater is basically a device which resonates the signals. There is a difference between repeater and amplifier. Amplifier amplifies the signals, and repeater resonates the signals. When we want to extend the LAN, we use the concept of repeaters, and we connect the same LAN, same network with the help of repeater so that we can extend the LAN. And hub is also a multi-port repeater, mean same functionality in a with the help of multi-ports. Mean there may be hub 8 port hub, 16 port hub, mean we can connect up to 7 or 15 systems, 16 systems with the help of hub. Yes. Next, bridge. Bridge provides the connectivity between two different types of the LAN networks. For example, one side we are taking token ring, another side we are taking Ethernet, and with the help of bridge we can connect these two different types of the networks. And for same MAC address concept is used at bridge. Switch is also we can say is more intelligent as compared to hub and provide the multi-port connectivity in the similar fashion as hub provides, but it uses the concept of flow control, error control, because this functionality of switch is on data link layer, and basic functionality of data link layer is error control and flow control. Next, router. Router is basically provide the optimal route on which the data can be transmitted, and for the routing table is maintained that contain tables in tables there is the address of every network that is connected to that routers, as well as mask as well as interface address. Yes, next gateway. If you will connect two different types of the networks, suppose one side we are taking ATM, another side we are taking TCP/IP protocol. Both the protocols of both the networks are of different types of natures, and execution of both these networks are in different way. And in order to set up proper connection between these two networks, there is a requirement of protocol conversion. Protocol conversion is basically gateway is the protocol conversion. When there is a requirement to connect different types of the networks, and get the functionality of gateway is executed at these layers. Presentation and session layers. These provide simply the user convenience facility to the users, and basic functionality of the gateway is executed at transport layers. Okay. Now we will discuss how these layers, function of these layers are executed together so that we can send the data from one machine to another machine. Now we will discuss how the combination of these layers work together in order to perform the communication between machine A and between machine B. Suppose this is machine A and here machine B. And machine A wants to set up the communication with machine B, or a process at machine A wants to communicate with a process at machine B. Suppose this is the Google server and this is the simple machine, and this machine wants to access the services of the Google server. Now we see how these layers work together: data physical layer, network layer, transport layer, and application layer. Yes, the functionality of presentation and session layers are generally optional services, and we generally consider here only these 5 layers: application layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer, as well as the functionality of these layers, how these combination of these layers works together in order to set up the connection, or in order to set up the communication between machine A and between machine B. Suppose at application layer we prepare a message M. That message will be passed into transport layer, and transport layer, after receiving the message M, it will add the port address of machine A and port address of machine B, or we can say a particular port address of a particular service at machine B. And this port address is generally provided, are generally standards port address, and information of the same is already stored in the systems. Yes. Next, this message will be passed to network layer, and when network layer will treat this entire message as a data message EP, and it will add IP address of source machine A as well as IP address of machine B, and this address is provided by the DNS. DNS, domain name system, where the specific address is generally converted into the IP addresses, and this address is generally provided by the domain name system. Then this message will be passed to data link layer. Data link layer is PA, PB, IA, IB, and add the MAC address of machine A. And suppose this machine connected with router R1, the card router, and further it will connect it to R2, and the machine R2 is connected with, and same here, physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, and application layer. And now this machine know the IP address of this machine, but before sending the data, there will be requirement of MAC address of this default routers. Whereas IP address of this default router is provided by the internet service provider in the machine, and in order to find the MAC address of this default router, this machine sends the request packet ARP, address resolution protocol packet, and this ARP basically demands the MAC address corresponding to a IP address, and corresponding to this ARP packet there will be a reply, that is the MAC address of machine R1, and on the basis of this address the entry of this will be filled up MRI, and the entire packet now will be sent or will be delivered to default router R1. R1 works up to network layer. It will receive the packets, pass that to the data link layer, and then finally network layer. And at data link layer, the MAC address of machine A as well as MRI machine of machine or default router R1 will be removed, and a new packet, new frame will be formed that will contain PA, PB, IA, and IB, and now MAC address of this machine MR1 and MAC address of MR2. The MAC address of this router is also found in a similar fashion with the help of ARP protocols. There will be a reply corresponding to ARP packet, and same MAC address of this machines will be found out. And now this message will be sent to this default routers R1. Now default routers R1 receive the message, and it will also work up to network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. Now it receive the message and it remove now here MAC address of R1 machine and MAC address of B machine, mean receiving machine, and finally the packet is delivered to this machine. And after receiving the packets at physical layer in this machines, there will be then physical layer pass the packet to data link layer. Data link layer remove the MAC addresses. Then pass network layer. Network layer remove the IP addresses, and transport layers on the basis of IP addresses. On the basis of port address, it passes this packet to that specific process at machine B, and on receiving this packet at particular process at machine B, there will be acknowledgement service from this machine to this machine and transport layer. If we see, transport layer provide end-to-end connectivity. Transport layer provide end-to-end connectivity. Network layer provide host-to-host connectivity, and data link layer provide hop-to-hop connectivity. The router maintains basically a routing tables. Basically, there are three columns. First column represents network ID, next one is subnet mask, and next one is interface. Network ID is the address of all the networks that are connected to that particular routers, and subnet mask is used to find address of the network. Suppose there is a machine A, machine B. Machine A, machine B, and a process A1 want to communicate with A2. If IP address of A1 and IP address of A2 and subnet address of A1 and subnet A1 and ending, if these values are equal, it means they belong to same network. If this value is not equal, it means they belong to different networks. Subnet mask address is basically used to find out the address of the network. Next, interface. Which interface the network is connected? interface in this one or this one. And interface basically provides for a static IP address connectivity at the router level.